When economies dip, most sales teams panic. The great ones pivot. And in this episode, we're diving deep into how top-performing sales leaders keep deals moving, keeping morale high, our pipelines full, even when the budgets are tight. From battle-tested framework to recession-ready mindsets, we're breaking down what separates teams that survive from those that thrive.
Hey everybody, welcome to Never in Reverse. I'm your host, Jeremy Axel, co-host, the man, Douglas Cox.
We're back.
Wow, look at that shake.
That was my dance move.
Dude, let's keep those private.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Awesome.
We're back at it, man. We're getting close to a year on the podcast, I think. I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
We're
Getting there.
approaching a year. I don't
Where
remember
can
the
they
exact
find
date.
us?
You guys find us on YouTube, Spotify. What else, Doug?
All the audio platforms, we're there. So whatever flavor you choose, you could probably find us. Yeah.
Yeah, come join us there, guys. Like, subscribe. We're going to dive into episode 36. The episode title is on weathering the storm in sales. This is going to be a good one for Doug and I. Obviously, we're both in sales, right? And hopefully you can provide maybe some new sales guys, maybe some tenured salespeople, some perspective of what we've faced, what works for us, what doesn't work, what we've seen in our careers.
Love to hear
So
what you guys,
Yeah.
what tools are in your tool bag too. I mean, that's
Yeah, sales is always evolving, and the
Mhm.
buyers is the way that people buy is changing. It's always changing, right? And you always say
Mhm.
being a chameleon, Doug, and it's very true. You got to be agile on your feet. You got to keep
Adapt
put little
environment.
tools in your tool chest daily and listen and learn. But like we've been doing, though, we break our episodes into 3 buckets. The first bucket is going to be around vulnerability and those techniques that we used or we've seen used in our careers and around sales. And this is something that I really like this side of sales. I think it actually is one of the most underutilized, and being vulnerable in situations with customers is not an easy feat. It requires a lot of, I'd say, internal awareness and understanding of yourself and the reality of being okay not closing a deal or being okay not being okay to a customer in a situation. Yeah. I mean, why honesty, it builds deep trust. And I've been in situations, we're in one right now, we're in this weird influx of a lot of things coming at our sales team right now. And this part of our DNA of what I always like to preach is just be okay to say no and understand that there's gates and there's stepping stones, and each stepping stone has a different gate. We're kind of at a max stepping stone right now, and it's okay to be strict around taking steps up the ladder, because the next step up the ladder could be the few steps back, right? Because it can hurt your credibility, it could hurt your brand, all the things, right? So I think the honesty to consumers is probably one of the best things you can do when you're in sales. A lot of sales guys want to get the deal. What I've came to understand is not every deal is equal. If you can be honest in those steps, you might uncover an opportunity in that same account a year down the road that's 3 times the size, and they remembered how you made them feel with honesty.
because it wasn't the right fit at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, you're making big changes in infrastructure. Your engineering department's going through a big revamp. All the things that we're in the middle of. I mean, we've been restructuring pretty heavily for the last couple of years and trying to get our baseline to the next step, right?
Yeah. Getting processes, getting, things in position to where we can better support. Because the thing is you're right, on the salespeople, they tend to, and it's creature of habit. You want to knock the deal down, but in the back of your mind, you can't deliver as promised. And what kind of negative impact can that have? Not just with that customer.
Or you can deliver, but it's not like perfect. It's going to be a little rough on the edges. It's going to be hard on the inside. And when it should be, it doesn't have to be perfectly smooth all the time on both sides, but you want your front facing process to be in alignment with the way that we deliver. And I'll be honest and raw, like we're in this step right now. It's like, man, we're kind of in a weird, I would say, interrelationship between the front and back.
Well, and we know there's gaps. We know there's gaps in some of our documentation, not to hit on these subjects, but, supporting documents, manuals, different things we need to fulfill for customer supporting pieces and process. And if we don't have those in place and we keep kicking the can down the road, that's going to have huge negative impact long-term versus if we just roll up our sleeves right now, say, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, got a backlog of things in production right now is maybe not the right fit. we've got some things we've got to get squared away on our end. Let's circle back, maybe on the next project or things that come up in the future. And being honest in that with them, they're going to go, whoa, okay. They're being truthful. They're not ready for us, and that's okay. But then when the time comes and we go back to them, we say, we're ready for you now. And they're going to go, awesome. Versus the sales guy that sits there and goes, I'll take the deal. I got it. I can do it for you. I can help you.
And then he crams it down to administration or crams it down to engineering and says, deal with it. And they're not ready for that, right? I think the vulnerability technique in our DNA, like I'm like, be honest. Don't have to remember what you said. If they don't like to hear it today, they're going to like it tomorrow. Sometimes customers don't like to be told that you're not in a spot to work with them right now. Since you started, what I tell you the best answer is that you can give someone?
Don't be afraid to say no. And if it's not the right fit at the right time, or just not the right customer fit that aligns with us, that we can support at a high level, it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard as a sales guy. I get it, because we're tasked with revenue generating activities, right? And ultimately, I'm sure there's an impact financially down to us, we're seeking, but what's the back end look like? What's the customer experience? What's that relationship going to look like if you can't fulfill his promise? And it's not just with them. People talk, industries talk. It could spread. And that's what you want to prevent in honesty, because the last thing you want is a negative impact or a negative mark on your brand. Or
I'd say your personal brand. Handle your personal brand above anything else, no matter what, because it's going to follow you if you're looking to make a move. I've made some damaging personal brand decisions early on in my career where I didn't show up in a respectful manner to my upper management because I was just running and gunning and thought the world was mine and all these things, right? And I made some verbal decisions early on in my career that probably I wouldn't say they weren't respectful, because I think there's a mutual respect that's required, but that wasn't my
pretty
place.
Direct and raw.
It was just very direct. I was honest. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you don't ask the question for me, Doug, if you're not going to want the answer, right? You know my style. But no, it's I think the biggest thing for me is just like being directly honest with your product offerings, being directly honest with what you can provide, and making sure that the commission doesn't overweigh the value proposition. Don't put the view, guys in their early career or just getting started in sales, maybe they're in year 2 or something. Keep driving, but don't necessarily be
don't put yourself
100%
first.
Focus on the commission side. Don't do that. I'm always like, put people before profit, and the profit will come. You put profit before people, and you're going to get transactions. That's it. You're not going to build relationships. No. You're going to strictly focus. You're not going to have the call back for the next round. They're just going to be,
it's going to be a one and done experience. And they're going to feel it.
Exactly.
And they're going to feel that, because
100%.
People get sold every day,
every day.
I mean, we all know it. I mean, the phone rings and somebody's trying to sell you something or, offer a product or a service, and it's every day we see.
People are tired of it. They want to have, I think, especially now with what's happening in our environment, I think people want to connect deeper. They actually want to get back to that connection, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And where there's trustworthiness, and in sales, if you have an opportunity, 9 times out of 10, you're solving a problem. It's where's the problem that you're dissecting, you're figuring out where you align, where you can help them overcome this quote unquote challenge. In a product offering or a service, you're there to solve a problem. If you take that narrative in that direction in a sales approach,
yep,
you're gonna build a deeper relationship, and then you can get down to a personal level to where it's like, here's Doug, here's who I am, here's what makes me tick. And see where that aligns with that individual. Read the room, see where your connections are, with that person that you're working with or that company.
And I think one thing too is not only, as a personal side, but I've been in situations where the leadership pushes this negative approach to not be vulnerable and real down your throat, right? Just get the deal. And
we'll figure it out.
If you're a sales guy and you're feeling that, man, you're in the wrong spot. I'm just going to be honest with you. You will damage yourself and your credibility as a person. I've stood up at times and said, absolutely won't do it. I remember telling a leader one time, I said, man, I will never do that. You can they wanted to step on a dealer. And I looked at him and said, not with my name.
No.
Nope.
No.
And he looked at me like, thinking I'm your boss. I said, I will put myself above that position all day long. I'm never going to do that, and he went and did it. And guess what happened? Negative on the backside
Yep.
that I had to come in and buffer and but he's chasing a little bit more profit for what he thought was profit, right? Like the bigger picture is much bigger than that deal.
Yeah.
And I think just
one hit wonder
from a sales end and just be very raw and show up. If your authentic self isn't in alignment with those types of ethics, just be authentic or rewire yourself. I would say just to get more in alignment with being a very real person and understand your offerings well enough to deliver
as promised and fulfilled.
Yep.
Yeah, because we've all worked for those organizations where it's like, just get the deal, we'll figure it out. And anytime you hear that, it's, you're sitting there, fingers crossed that it goes well. And 9 times out of 10, when there's a get the deal, figure it out, we'll figure it out, it never goes right.
I think as we, and we're going to transition to the next kind of topic. And this is one of my best, I think this is the best arrow in our quiver, and it's when the identify a bad fit client. And it doesn't have to be necessarily that they're a bad fit. It could be timing of that fitment. It could be, there's a whole plethora of things that can happen. One that we're in a stage right now where I've basically broken out what we are going to provide at this stage for the next month or two. If anything else comes at us, it's not in that bucket, I'm okay with that. We're going to have to tell them that.
And core focus and where it aligns there, because the next
where we can be really successful.
You get away from that. It puts stresses not only on the salesperson, but other departments that are helping, the support of. When you get out of alignment of that, the timing, again, it's probably not right to go chase squirrels when focus here.
So identifying the bad clients early, I have on my end, I have learned a couple. One of the biggest questions that I ask is, what's your budget? And what I can learn from that, that's a very hard question to get going down asking, but you can use it in a very authentic way. And if someone doesn't have the ability to give you at least a window, you don't go to Gucci shopping for a bag from Walmart, right? Like,
no, you got $100 to spend, you're not going in to spend $150.
Give me a number. Give me a rough number. You don't need to give me your high number. Give me something that if you're within 30 grand, I'll know where we sit. And so I identify and I do some pre-qualifying questions like, hey man, what's your budget? What's your timeline? Who are the parties involved in making this decision? And if they're not on the call, how do we get them involved? Let's make sure that there's transparency.
Yep.
I do this every day. If you want me to come to the table, let's all go to the table together. So I think, but if you can't get the right information of the right people in the room, you're just going to be that nice piece of paper that they've collected the 3 quotes from.
Or it's going to be the old school as kids when you played telephone and the narrative and the story changes as it goes down the line. And that's you want the decision makers and you want the right people at the table. So there's transparency. Everybody is hearing the same thing, right? So because collectively they're going to make a purchase. Then you've got everybody there that there's clarity. You're not reliant on somebody else telling the narrative.
Or if they don't have a technical answer and they're trying to, they didn't collect the right information. And, you got to have the right people at the right seat. But identifying those clients for me is like, if they can't answer some of those questions, or I know they're just the data collector and they're relaying the information uphill. You're just going to come in as a number. Your number is going to be high. They're not going to understand the differentiation. They're not going to see
the value. Yep. Nope. They're not going to see the technical differences.
Nope.
So
I think the ratios, there's 57% of sales environments say that the most wasted time in the sales department is 57% of leads that are not a good fit. They waste time on. That's a lot. That's over half.
Well, that's 50% of your time, over 50%. There went 4 hours of the 8-hour working day that you went down the wrong rabbit hole.
Oh, so
we're all guilty of it. I mean, we live and learn, and when I was new to this industry, and trying to figure it out. I mean, I was chasing things that didn't align with us. I didn't know any better yet. But once I got enough at bats, I knew not to swing at the curveball, right? I'm a fastball hitter, so I'm going to
Yeah,
sit and
exactly.
wait
But
for the
I
fastball.
just for viewers, I told him early on, but he didn't. He
Oh,
just went down that
relax.
whole.
Relax. But we've all done it in our careers in sales. We have.
Yeah.
No matter what
Yep.
industry you've been in, it's like you're eager, you're hungry, and you want to prove yourself. So you wind up running down this path that you don't belong on. It's like, gosh dang it, I took a dirt road when I should have stayed on the freeway,
Yeah, exactly.
and we've done it.
Put your time. And then you got 47% more of your time to go find two more of the perfect clients. It might take longer, but you're going to spend more positive time. That's actually going to be momentum mover
Yep.
instead of like this anchor, because those anchors will hold you back, right? Like that
Yeah.
time suck. It's energy drain. You go through these exercises.
Well,
I
and
tell
it's
people all the time, I don't need more practice, guys.
I went
I
I
got
went
plenty.
through some really good sales training early on in my career, and my mentor, he asked me, goes, "Doug, what are you worth an hour? What do
Exactly.
you need to make an hour a day to get to the income level to live a lifestyle you want to live? What's that number?" And rewind the tape. Rewind it back to where are your revenue generating activities an hour a day that you need to produce in revenue for the company that aligns with your product offering, that ultimately is going to get you to an income level to live a lifestyle you want to live. And if you get off those rails and you start chasing, bad deals or things that don't align with your product offerings or you're going to get away from where you want to be in your goals because let's be honest, at the end of the day, we work for a living, right? To live a lifestyle we want to live at the end of the day, or we want to get to. Now, how are we going to get there? And
Yeah,
with the
you're exactly right, dude. And I think you're just breaking down your own time and and that
Mhm.
doesn't mean you have to have certain hours a day. But what if you want to go on a walk with your dog, and that's more important to you than 54% chasing dead weight? I mean, there's time, right? Like people say, I don't have enough time. I'm like, let's look at your time. Let's see how you're spending it per
Yeah.
day. Let's see
Is
where
it
those buckets are. You chasing volume or chasing fitment? Volume chasers are going to spend 54% of their time burning hours for that client that says, yeah, this is what we need. And then you're down that
and
cycle.
then
I
they're
mean,
going, "Well, we're not making a purchase decision for another 8 months."
and you're
And you
going,
just went, "I just burned all this time and okay, well."
just happened to me. It still happens to me. And this doesn't mean that on the front end on these identifying these bad clients, because sometimes there's this crazy mask that's put on. No matter the questions you ask them, it's almost as if the buyer's ego is like, absolutely that fits us. When in turn it really doesn't. You get those through those questions, they say you're a fit, you're going perfect. Let's get, and now I'm getting a little bit more, I wouldn't say rough around the edges, but much more strict on the edges. Like,
Well, and
listen,
it's in your
if this,
pre-qualifying questions
yeah,
up front, and that was another sales training thing that I went through, uh, not early on in my sales career, but shortly thereafter, and pre-qualifying questions. And I went, "Really? That's interesting." And then, once you outline your pre-qualifying questions in the industry or whatever it is that you're selling, that's going to help you identify, is this worth my time right now? Is this a right product fitment? You're going to unravel this to where you're going to know if it's really worth your time, effort, and energy in that moment. Otherwise, if you don't dissect this a bit, you're going to wind up again burning time, where you could have been streamlined, more focused on what aligns with
exactly.
your organization, what aligns with you to be successful, again, getting to that income level you wanna get to, and staying within those guardrails. But I know as salespeople, we get excited. It's like the next big deal just came through the door. "Oh, I just found out 2 weeks later they're not making a purchase decision till 4th quarter of 2026." Why
Well,
are we
just in this topic though, this is down like the downward trend of an economic turn where you're down. You have to be your time. It might not be an hourly rate, but your time effectiveness. You better spend the time in the right place
Mhm.
at the right amount of time versus 54% of the hard work going to something that's a dead end. You better learn to, I mean, I think when there's recessions, it's the most positive thing that can happen, honestly,
Well, and
to me.
you're gonna see what sales folks can roll up their sleeves.
From a internal standpoint, what do I say? I mean, like, Doug, when it's like, listen, it's down, but that's okay. Because guess what happens? What goes down must come up. But
Where
when you're
there's valleys,
down,
there's peaks. Yep.
if there's guys that saying, "Oh man, the recession," people are still buying, guys. Like, you just got to go
You
uncover
got to
more,
go find where the fish
rocks.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they say, like, good top performers that are based off of, like, uh, let's say they're top, just a natural salesperson. They say during recessions, like, 68% of them see a decline. And I'm like, so I think there's this perfect blend around, like, skill set, natural skill. That natural skill sometimes isn't always the right way because they didn't get the grind to get there. They're just naturally good at it. So they just take it for granted. So they don't know what the grit looks like because they
Well,
close
and
deals
creatures of
easier.
habit, right? So
Yeah.
we
And they,
stay in what we had success with at the time in our tactics, but as an industry
yep.
or a market changes, are you adapting as well? You know, good, bad,
But
or
think about
indifferent.
that. The economy goes down, and they made 5 calls to hit their target, because I know some salespeople that are talented like that, and Doug's not one of them. So
All
just joking,
gas,
that
no
Doug's
brakes,
talented.
baby.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, and then they go make 5 calls, and there's a recession. Now their ratio is down. It's depleting, and the guy, I'll tell you what, I'll take the guy he's got the grit and he's got the skills, but
Or he's
it's not
listening
too
and he's
much of,
adapting and he's
but it's not
learning
too
and
much
he's
of either. He's willing
yeah.
to do the work, but he still understands that he can continually learn more and learn more and learn more all the
Mhm.
time. This guy, that's natural, that it came easy to him. When that recession hits, he goes down right with it because he doesn't have the grind, right? So I think for me, it's like, as a leader, when you're going through these things, like, when it's down, I'm like, dude, this is off season. It's like an NFL football team. They don't not train hard in off season. They
Right.
train harder
Mhm.
for the Super Bowl.
Or why
'Cause,
did
well,
you see good teams, well, why did we lose? Okay, we had penalties on the field or, you
yep.
know, um, the offensive line wasn't, blocking assignments. But that's where you make correction to overcome those moments in adversity so you don't make those mistakes a second, right? And that's what good salespeople do.
I mean, I started in sales in 2003, and I think that was a downward decline, and it was a grind, man. But I rolled my sleeves up, and I didn't have necessarily every part of my sales process dialed in. I was willing to do the work, and it took me a lot longer to probably get where I wanted to go because of that. However, what I did learn, there's this perfect balance. So if you're getting into sales right now and you're like, hey, I can tell you this, I'll take effort all day before charisma, because the
Mhm.
charisma guy he's not gonna have the grit when it's hard. Not, I wouldn't say not always, but I want the guy that's, like, gonna get in there no matter what, because when it's good, it's gonna be really good for him. And when it's bad, it's going to be normal, right? So, because when the recession hits, the charisma guys that hasn't done the work on his pipeline, he touches a few people and he closes just as amount. When it's good, when people aren't looking at budgets, or they're actually still spending a lot of money, they don't really care, they're investing. It's easier for those guys; they shine. But the grit is going to be more consistent, long term, all day long.
Well,
So
and
the
have
guy
a
that kind of,
competitive mindset, and
exactly, want to win.
listen when you in most sales organizations, there's multiple salespeople in there. Look at the top performer. Listen to their approach. Listen to how they go about things. Look how they structure their day. Not that you have to take everything from them, but find those nuggets. I used to, when I got early on in my sales career in selling telecom and internet services to businesses, and I was fortunate enough, my dad was in sales, so I had a good mentor, and he's like, listen to the others around you, listen to their tactic, listen to their message,
Yep.
take the nuggets, put it in your toolbox from the good ones and the bad ones, and always be willing to learn and listen, be competitive. And, I remember this Guy Harrelson was his name, and he sat 2 cubicles down from me, and he was so good on the phone. And sometimes, like, I would start a phone call and I'd hear him on the phone. I'd hang up and I would just listen to him in his message and his approach and his deliverables and how he talked about the product, how we support the product. And, I took things from him and his message and I put it into my own, and then my sales manager, It's a line I use today. Mr. Mrs. Customer, thank you for the opportunity. Let's see if something makes business sense. I mean, just these nuggets that I took away that I just continue to add to my tool chest, and still to this day, I still listen to people in, how they communicate, how they interact, and, things that I can use, to my advantage. Never lose sight of that.
Yeah, and I think, we're gonna transition to kind of another our third and final topic of this, but just the processes around like being charismatic and stuff. I think there's this like perfect blend around like charismatic salespeople and because those charismatic, but there's like this over point of being over the board, over the top, I guess, during a sales cycle. Like I've ran into that, and I'm like, I'll
The
have fun and
used car
crack jokes,
salesman approach.
but yeah, I don't. Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
it does work at times. But I like the meat and potatoes being specific, exactly correct, and also having a good time on the sidelines. But it's like this perfect blend. I'll take process. Um, when you see a charismatic sales guy, that's all they follow. But they don't plug into the CRM. They're not following a sales system. They're an administration nightmare because they don't follow process. They don't hand in over all the
Yeah.
information all the
Yeah.
time. Which I'm guilty of that at times, handing not half-baked cakes over
Say
to
that again?
engineering. Yeah, I said I'm guilty of that sometimes,
Uh-huh.
but I'll take ownership
That's
in
on
that,
the
right?
record.
Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it on the record. And I'm okay with that, right? Like, I understand. I
The
mean,
flaw,
it's not like
working on it. Yeah.
I'm not sitting over here waiting for the phone to ring like Doug, but, no,
Uh,
um, no, but I mean, I just think there's a balance of like the natural seller, versus the guy that's gonna do the grit that has, like, the work ethic, but he's got the interpersonal skills, right? You can have all the work ethic in the world. I've seen guys like this. First one of the first guys I ever worked side by side with, his name is Guy, and he probably made 80 calls, cold calls on person in the field a day, every single day, and didn't sell anything. 'Cause he was a super, super good guy, but he didn't have that blend. Work, but nothing on the front end, right? Like, it was crazy. I'm like, "Man, this guy is working so hard, but he can't get the backside to go through because in person, there was no deeper connection," right? So I think there's this perfect blend of, like, getting into that spot and working on yourself enough to go, "Man, I can keep working hard, but as I do that, I wanna see more, fruits of my labor at the end," and if you don't have that, just keep paying attention. Like Doug said, if you see a guy being really successful that's charismatic, but he doesn't have the work ethic, listen to him.
mhm.
Take what he's doing, put it into your artillery
Yeah.
because if you
Take the
get those
nuggets
skill
of
sets
it.
with the work ethic, oh, buddy,
Yeah.
you're a diamond, right? Like, you just gotta keep on chipping away and making
Yep.
those edges more crisp, I would say, and I'm still going that way. I mean, we learn every single day.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Doug takes everything from me, and that's why he's successful, so
Gosh, the beat down every day. But no, I love talking to salespeople in different industries, different product sets, and ones that have had success, career guys that have been through it, waded through the good times, the bad times, and, their stories and, because we're all going to face it, one way or another. And it's how do you survive, the peaks and the valleys, right? It's,
So I think that yeah, as just a recap of this episode, I think is you want to get like I would say like being the diamond in the rough during the recession or during a downturn of the economy. I think as a sales guy is just like being extremely honor your own time regardless if you're new in your career. I think honor your time, be very very diligent around where you spend your time. I think that's a critical thing. I think and then just paying attention and
be
learning around you,
nimble,
but
adapt,
be vulnerable, be
be
real with what
vulnerable.
you offer. Don't chase commission, chase relationships,
Yep.
especially if you see something as a long-term career, but also, transitions out of that because those people can be your advocates when you go look for a new career.
And make sure you're a
Um, uh,
believer in your product set that you're selling. If you can't believe in what your product offerings are or your services, if you can't wholeheartedly get around that, then it's probably not the right sales, and I mean, we've been in those situations where, I sold television advertising at one point in my career and I thought it was going to be great. And I got over there. I went, this isn't me. I can't sell blue sky. you know,
Yep.
and it took me about 1.5 years, 2 years to figure that out. But I didn't believe in the product or the service that we were selling. I didn't. I couldn't get around it. And I just that day I just went, you know what? I'm in the wrong seat. I can't get behind this.
Guys,
Yeah.
we're running out of time. Episode 36 of Never in Reverse. I'm gonna leave you guys with just take vulnerability and put it in the front face of your sales process. Be real, understand your product offerings,
Mhm.
get a core understanding of making sure what you say is the end result, right? Like and do that with complete integrity. I think it's probably the best thing you could do long term. Just do it wholeheartedly and never don't have to remember what you said. If you do that every single day as a salesperson, you're going to thrive. And it's not going to be an instant success. I think doing it the right way takes longer to see true success, right? Sometimes you just got to roll up your sleeves and just honor yourself along the way. So, thanks for joining us, guys, on episode 36 of Never in Reverse. Again, I'm your host, Jeremy Axel, co-host, the man, Doug Cox. And
No,
please subscribe on all social media platforms.
we're
Like,
there.
subscribe, comment. Give us some
Yeah,
of your
give us
guys'
some
sales feedback,
I wanna
guys.
hear your tactics.
Please.
Let's hear your
This
stories.
is one of our passionate topics, actually. So
And we
we'd
love
love to
to
hear from you
learn.
guys. And so next episode next week, episode 37. We appreciate it. And
Thanks again.
have a good one. Thanks. Take care.
Bye.